The Great Hall of the Galaxy Council was quiet for the first time in many years. Hundreds of alien beings sat in their floating chairs, looking at the empty seats where humans used to sit. The silence felt heavy and wrong. Ambassador Kyung-min had walked out 3 days ago. His last words still rang in everyone's ears. The Human Federation ends all talks with the Galaxy Council. This starts now. Then he left with his team. No one had heard from any human since. Counselor Vexitar of the Zalathi moved his long neck and looked around the hall. His purple skin was darker than usual, which meant he was worried. But he tried to hide it. "This is just a game," he said to the other council members. "Humans are like children. They will come back when they get tired of being alone." The other aliens made different sounds of agreement. Some clicked their claws. Others buzzed their wings. A few made low growling noises. But deep down, many of them felt scared. Dr. Hana had been the human science chief. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but her words were always sharp and true. Before she left, she had said something that made everyone uncomfortable. "You think we are weak because we try to be nice. You will learn that you are wrong." The trouble started 6 months ago. The Galaxy Council wanted to pass a new law called the Smart Species Protection Act. They said it was to help new alien races that were just learning to travel in space, but everyone knew the real reason. They wanted to stop humans from growing too fast and too strong. Humans had been in space for only 200 years. Most other aliens had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, but humans learned fast, very fast. They built better ships, found new ways to make energy, and created machines that even old alien races could not understand. This scared many council members, especially Vexitar. His people, the Zalathi, had ruled a big part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. They were proud and thought they were the smartest race in space. But humans were changing everything. Human colonies spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Wherever they went, they made friends with local aliens. They shared their technology freely. They helped solve problems that had existed for centuries. Soon, many alien worlds liked humans more than their own old governments. Vexitar watched. His power shrink every day. Zalathi trade ships lost business to faster human cargo vessels. Zalathi factories could not compete with human manufacturing. Even Zalathi scientists started asking humans for help with difficult problems. So Vexitar came up with a plan. He convinced other worried council members to support his new law. The Smart Species Protection Act would limit how fast any race could expand. It would control who could share technology and where. Most importantly, it would stop humans from growing stronger. When the vote happened, 57 races said yes. Only 12 said no. Humans had only 1 vote, so they lost badly. Ambassador Kyung-min stood up slowly after the vote. He was a calm man who always spoke softly, but that day his voice was cold as space. "The Human Federation does not accept this law," he said. "We will not follow rules made by people who fear progress and friendship." Vexitar laughed. "You have no choice, human. The council has spoken. You will obey or face the consequences." Kyung-min looked at him with eyes like ice. "Consequences? You want to talk about consequences?" He turned to address the whole council. "For 50 years, humans have helped build this galaxy into something better. We shared our knowledge freely. We made your worlds richer and safer. We asked for nothing but friendship in return." He walked toward the exit, followed by Dr. Hana and the other human representatives. But if you want to treat us like enemies, then you will learn what it means to lose your friends." The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. That was the last time anyone saw a human in the Galaxy Council halls. At first, most council members felt relieved. Vexatar smiled and told everyone that life would be better without troublesome humans. They were growing too fast anyway, he said. Now the galaxy can return to proper order. But within days, strange things started happening. Human merchant ships stopped coming to alien ports. Human factories on shared worlds went quiet. Human scientists packed up their research and left alien universities. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, Portmaster Kexaloth watched the last human cargo ship leave his docks. The captain, a woman named Boram, had been coming to his port for 5 years. She always brought the best goods and paid fair prices. "When will you return?" Kexaloth asked her. Boram shook her head sadly. "I don't know. Maybe never. The Federation has new rules now. We can only trade with people who want us as friends, not as servants." As her ship disappeared into hyperspace, Kexaloth felt a cold, fear in his stomach. Human ships carried almost half of all trade goods in the galaxy. What would happen without them? The same question was being asked on hundreds of worlds. Human teachers stopped coming to alien schools. Human doctors left alien hospitals. Human engineers abandoned construction projects halfway done. In his office on Earth, President Min-Ho read reports from across human space. Every human citizen was coming home. Every human business was closing on alien worlds. Every human helper was leaving their posts. "Are you sure about this?" asked his advisor, a young woman named So Young. "This will hurt millions of innocent aliens." Min-Ho nodded grimly. "The council wanted to limit us. Now they will see what limits really mean. Sometimes the only way to teach bullies is to take away what they need most." Back in the Galaxy Council Hall, Vextar tried to keep everyone calm. "This is temporary," he insisted. "Humans need us more than we need them. They will come back begging for trade agreements within a month." But some council members were not so sure. The Andromedans had been humanity's closest allies. Their representative, a wise old being named Mordak, spoke up. "I have known humans for 30 years. They do not bluff. When they make a promise, they keep it. When they make a threat, they mean it." Vexatar's purple skin turned almost black with anger. "You think these primitive newcomers can threaten the greatest civilizations in the galaxy? We built star empires while they were still living in caves." Mordak's ancient eyes were sad. "That is exactly why we should be worried. They learned, in 2 centuries, what took us 20,000 years. What else have they learned that we do not know about?" The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. Outside the Great Hall, the galaxy was about to find out just how much they had depended on their human friends, and how much they would miss them when they were gone. Captain Boram stared at the fuel gauge on her ship's control panel. The red warning light blinked at her like an angry eye. She was stuck at Kepler Station, somewhere between the Rigel and Vega systems, with barely enough fuel to reach the nearest planet. This had never happened before. For 5 years she had traveled the same trade routes, stopping at human-run fuel stations that dotted the galaxy like bright stars. The fuel was always good, the prices were fair, and the service was fast. Now all those stations were dark and empty. She walked through the crowded corridors of Kepler Station, looking for the station master. Aliens of all kinds pushed past her, talking loudly in their own languages. Everyone seemed worried and angry. The station master was a Vrathan named Kexaloth. His 4 arms moved quickly as he tried to answer questions from dozens of upset traders and travelers. His usually calm blue skin was now a worried purple color. "Please, everyone must wait," Kexaloth said in his translator voice. "We are trying to contact the human fuel suppliers, but they do not answer our calls." A large hegemony trader with thick gray skin pushed forward. "This is impossible! The humans have contracts with us. They cannot just stop selling fuel." Kexloth spread all 4 of his arms wide. I know, but look at your communication devices. Try to call any human business, any human office. They all give the same message." Boram pulled out her communicator and tried calling the Earth Trade Ministry. After a few seconds, a cold computer voice spoke. "The Human Federation is not available for outside communications at this time. Please try again later." She tried 3 more human numbers. All gave the same message. Around her, other aliens were getting the same response. The crowd grew louder and more frightened. Some were shouting, others were making the worried sounds that their species made when scared. Boram felt sorry for them, but she also felt proud. Her people, the humans, were showing the galaxy what it meant to be treated badly. The Galaxy Council thought they could make rules to control humans like children. Now they would learn that humans were not helpless. On the agricultural world of Titan Prime, engineer Wu Jin packed his tools into metal boxes. He had worked on this planet for 3 years, helping the local Fenari people grow enough food to feed their population. Without human farming technology, the planet could only feed half its people. The Fenari were small, furry beings with big eyes and gentle voices. They had always been kind to Wu Jin. Now they watched him pack with sad faces. "Please, engineer." "Wu Jin," said Elder Yuki Fell, the oldest Fenari on the planet. "Our crops will die without your machines. Our children will go hungry." Wu Jin's heart felt heavy. He liked these people. They had never been mean to humans, but his orders were clear. All human workers must return home immediately. "I am sorry, friend Yuki Fell," he said softly. "I must follow my government's commands. But perhaps your leaders on the Galaxy Council will change their minds soon." Elder Yuki Fell's big eyes filled with tears. "We voted against the new law. We said humans should be free, but too many others were afraid of your success." Wu Jin nodded and picked up his last box. "Fear makes people do stupid things. Maybe this will teach them to be less afraid and more wise." As his transport ship lifted off from Titan Prime, Wu Jin looked down at the farming fields below. Without human machines to water and protect the crops, the green fields would turn brown in just a few weeks. Millions of Fenari would face starvation. The same thing was happening on hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Human teachers closed their schools and went home. Human doctors left their hospitals with only basic equipment. Human engineers stopped working on half-built space stations and planetary shields. On the industrial world of Vega 7th, factory supervisor, Jinwoo walked through the silent manufacturing plant that had been his home for 7 years. The massive machines stood still and quiet. Without human-designed power cores and control systems, they were just expensive decorations. The plant's owner, a proud hegemony lord named Korthax, had laughed when Jinwoo first offered human help years ago. "We hegemony have built machines for 10,000 years, he had said. "What can young humans teach us?" But when human technology made his factory 10 times more productive, Korthax changed his mind quickly. He made huge profits selling goods across the galaxy. Now those same machines would not even turn on without human maintenance codes. "You cannot leave!" Korthax shouted at Jinwoo. We have contracts, legal agreements. Jinwoo smiled sadly. Our legal agreements were with the Galaxy Council member planets. The Council decided they did not want humans as equal partners. So we are no longer partners. Korthax's gray skin turned red with anger. This is blackmail. We will report you to the Council. Please do, Jinwoo said as he walked toward his shuttle. I am sure they will be very interested to hear how much. You need those primitive humans after all. In the Great Galaxy Council Hall, emergency meetings happened every day. Representatives who had been calm and confident just weeks before now looked worried and tired. Councillor Vextar stood at the center of the hall, his purple skin almost black with stress. This is a temporary problem, he insisted to the other. Council members, other species can replace human services. We do not need them. But the reports coming in from across the galaxy told a different story. Trade routes that had carried goods for decades were now empty. Factories that had produced everything from food to starship parts were shut down. Communication networks were failing as human-maintained relay stations went dark. The Andromedan representative, old Mordak, stood up slowly. His ancient voice was quiet, but clear. How many species voted for the Protection Act? He asked. 57, Vextar answered, proudly. And how many of those 57 species are now asking for emergency help because their economies are collapsing? Vextar's skin got darker. That is not important. We can solve these problems without human help. Mordak nodded sadly. My own world has lost 30% of its trade income in just 2 weeks. Our hospitals are running out of medicines that only human companies knew how to make. Our universities are empty because human professors were teaching half of our advanced classes. Other council members began to speak up. The Zolonians reported that their space elevators had stopped working without human maintenance. The Korthax said their planetary defense shields were failing. The Rigelians announced that their food distribution network had collapsed. This is impossible, Vextar shouted. No single species can be this important to the entire galaxy. But they are, said a small voice from the back of the hall. It was Councillor Yerendak of the Fennery people. She was one of the representatives who had voted against the Protection Act. We were so busy being afraid of human success that we forgot to notice how much we had come to depend on it. The hall was quiet for a long moment. Outside the great windows, ships moved slowly through space, but there were far fewer ships than usual. The busy trade routes that connected thousands of worlds were becoming empty highways. On a small station near the edge of human space, Communication Officer Haye Jin watched alien ships trying to contact Earth. Every few minutes, another desperate message arrived. Alien governments begging for trade agreements. Alien businesses offering huge payments for human services. Alien hospitals pleading for medical supplies. All the messages got the same automatic response. The Human Federation is not available for outside communications at this time. He-Jin felt a little sad reading some of the messages. Many came from good aliens who had always been friends to humans, but her orders were clear. Until the Galaxy Council changed its mind about the Protection Act, no human would speak to any alien government. Deep in Earth's government buildings, President Min-ho met with his advisors. General Sung-ho, Admiral of the Space Force, showed him reports from across the galaxy. The plan is working perfectly, the general said. Alien worlds are starting to panic. Their leaders are demanding that the council fix this problem. President Min-ho nodded, but his face was serious. Any signs that they are trying to replace our technology? Dr. Hana, the former science liaison, shook her head. They are trying, but it will take them years, maybe decades, to rebuild what we created. And that is only if they work together instead of competing with each other. Which they will not do, added strategic advisor So Young. Most of these species have been rivals for thousands of years. They only work together because humans help them find common ground. President Minho looked out the window at Earth's blue sky. How long do you think it will take for them to break? General Sung Ho smiled. Based on our intelligence reports, the first major government will fall within a month. After that, the others will follow quickly. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. For 50 years, humans had quietly become the glue that held galactic civilization together. Now, without that glue, everything was starting to fall apart. Dr. Yoon Seo sat in her office on Luna Base, watching the galaxy tear itself apart through her computer screens. As the former head of the Human Technology Institute, she had spent 20 years carefully placing human innovations throughout alien civilizations. Now she watched her life's work disappear like smoke. Her computer showed hundreds of red warning lights across a map of the galaxy. Each light represented a critical system that was failing without human maintenance. Power grids, communication networks, transportation systems, medical equipment, all of it was breaking down. "Status report," she said to her assistant, a young engineer named Tai-Min. Tai-Min looked up from his own computer. "The quantum communication network is down to 30% capacity. Without human technicians to maintain the relay stations, the whole system will collapse within 6 weeks. Dr. Yoon Seo nodded grimly. The quantum network had been humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. It allowed instant communication across thousands of light years, connecting every major world in a web of information. Before humans created it, aliens had to wait months or years for messages to travel between distant systems. Now that gift was being taken away. "What about the industrial worlds?" she asked. "Manufacturing is down 60% across the galaxy," Tai-Min replied. "The hegemony worlds are hit worst. Their factories cannot produce anything without our fusion cores and quantum processors." On the industrial world of Rigel 7th, factory manager Jin Woo had left behind more than just silent machines. He had left behind a puzzle that alien engineers could not solve. Every piece of human technology was connected to every other piece in ways that seemed simple, but were actually very complex. The hegemony engineers thought they could restart the factories by building their own power cores. They had tried for 3 weeks. Every time they connected their equipment to the human systems, nothing happened. The machines stayed dead and silent. Chief Engineer Bractor threw his tools on the ground in anger. His thick gray skin was dark with frustration. "This is impossible. These human devices have no security locks, no protection codes. They should work with any power source." His assistant, a younger hegemony named Veltar, pointed at the quantum processor arrays. "Maybe the problem is not the power. Maybe the problem is how all the parts talk to each other." Bractor looked where Veltar was pointing. The human quantum processors were connected to everything. The power cores, the assembly robots, the environmental controls, even the lights. Each connection seemed random, but maybe there was a pattern they could not see. "Run a full system analysis," Bractor ordered. "Map every connection, every wire, every data stream." It took them 2 days to map everything. When they were done, Veltar stared at the results with amazement. "This is not just a factory," he whispered. "This is like a living brain. Every part depends on every other part. The human engineers had not just built machines. They had built an entire ecosystem of technology where nothing could work alone. Remove any piece, and the whole system stopped functioning, and the humans had taken the most important pieces with them. Across the galaxy, similar discoveries were being made. On the medical world of Sanctuary, alien doctors found that their hospital equipment would not work without human-designed bioscanners. On the agricultural planet of Green Haven, farming machines refused to operate without human-programmed crop analyzers. Even worse, any attempt to force the systems to work resulted in complete failure. On the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, a team of Andromedan scientists tried to reverse engineer a human quantum drive. They had studied the device for months, taking careful measurements and detailed scans. They thought they understood how it worked. Chief Scientist Morhan carefully connected their copy of the drive to a test power source. For a moment, it seemed to work. The quantum field generators hummed with energy. The spatial distortion readings looked correct. Then, everything exploded. The blast destroyed half the research station and killed 3 scientists. The emergency report reached Earth within hours, carried by the few remaining quantum communication relays. Captain Du Hyun of the Human Intelligence Service read the report with cold satisfaction. He sat in his stealth ship, hidden in the asteroid belt around Proxima Centauri. His job was to watch and report on alien attempts to copy human technology. Another failure, he said to his communications officer, a woman named Sunmi. That makes 12 this month. Sunmi nodded as she recorded the incident. The Andromedans were our closest allies. If they cannot figure out our technology, no one can. Do-hyun smiled without humor. That was always the plan. Dr. Yoon Seo designed every piece of human technology with hidden safeguards. Any attempt to copy it without the proper codes results in explosive failure. The safeguards were more than just booby traps. They were psychological weapons. Every time an alien research team tried to reverse engineer human technology and failed catastrophically, it sent a message to others. Do not try this. It is too dangerous. Fear was spreading through the alien scientific community like a plague. In the Galaxy Council halls, the emergency sessions were getting more desperate every day. Counselor Vextar no longer looked confident and proud. His purple skin was pale and his hands shook when he spoke. The situation is temporary, he insisted to the other council members, but his voice was weak. Our scientists will solve these problems. We do not need human technology. The Andromedan representative, old Mordak, stood up slowly. His ancient face was sad, but firm. I have just received a report from our research station at Proxima Centauri. Another attempt to understand human technology has resulted in disaster. 3 of our best scientists are dead. A shocked silence filled the hall. The Andromedans had the most advanced science in the galaxy, except for humans. If they could not understand human technology, who could? Counselor Yerindak of the Fenari spoke up. Her small voice was full of despair. My world is starving. Our crops are dying without human farming machines. Our people are fleeing to other planets. But those planets cannot feed extra mouths either. Similar reports came from around the hall. The Rigelians announced that their space elevators had collapsed, cutting off trade with orbital stations. The Zolonians said their planetary defense shields were failing, leaving them vulnerable to asteroid impacts. The Korthax reported that their hospital systems had shut down, unable to treat patients without human medical scanners. How is this possible? Demanded Counselor Varthek of the Hegemony. No single species should have this much control over. Galactic civilization, old Mordak answered quietly. Because we gave it to them. For 50 years we welcomed human help. We invited them to improve our worlds. We asked them to solve our problems. We never noticed that we were becoming dependent on their solutions. They tricked us, Vextar shouted. This was all planned. They wanted to control us from the beginning. Did they? Mordak asked. Or did we control ourselves by being too lazy to learn how their technology worked? By taking their gifts without understanding them? The question hung in the air like a poisonous cloud. Many council members remembered how eager they had been to accept human innovations. Faster ships, better weapons, more efficient factories, improved medical equipment. The humans had offered solutions to every problem, and the aliens had accepted them gratefully. No one had asked what would happen if the humans went away. Earth President Minho met with his top advisors in a secure underground chamber. The walls were covered with displays showing the state of the galaxy. Most of the screens showed red warning symbols. Psychological analysis? He asked Dr. Hana. Fear is replacing anger, she reported. The alien governments are starting to panic. They are beginning to understand that they cannot replace us quickly or easily. General Sung Ho added his own assessment. Several minor governments have already fallen. The Corvani Republic collapsed yesterday when their trade network failed completely. 3 worlds in the Outer Rim have declared independence from their sector governments. Strategic advisor So Young pulled up a detailed analysis. Our intelligence suggests that the Galaxy Council is split into 3 factions now. One group wants to negotiate with us immediately, another group wants to declare war on us, the third group wants to pretend the problem does not exist and wait for us to come back on our own. President Minho studied the reports. And Vextar? Still, trying to hold the anti-human coalition together, So Young replied. But his support is cracking. Even his own species, the Zalathi, are starting to question his leadership. Dr. Yoon Seo's voice came through the communication system from Luna Base. Mr. President, we are ready for the next phase of the operation. Should I begin shutting down the remaining quantum communication relays? President Minho was quiet for a long moment. Taking away the galaxy's ability to communicate would cause chaos and suffering on an enormous scale. But it would also force the aliens to face reality. They needed humans more than humans needed them. Begin the shutdown, he ordered, but do it slowly. Give them time to understand what is happening. As the quantum communication network began its final collapse, the galaxy prepared to enter a new age of darkness and isolation. The aliens had wanted to limit human expansion and influence. Instead, they had learned that humans were not just part of Galactic. Admiral Sung Ho stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, watching the stars through the great windows. His ship floated in dark space, hidden from alien sensors by technology that no other species understood. Around him, his crew worked, quietly at their stations, monitoring the collapse of galactic civilization. Status report, he said to his tactical officer, a sharp-eyed woman named So Young. The quantum communication network is down to 5% capacity, So Young reported. Most alien governments can no longer talk to their colony worlds. The HFY Galaxy Council cannot coordinate any response to the crisis. Sung Ho nodded with satisfaction. The plan had worked even better than they had hoped. For 30 years, strategic planner Colonel So Young had been developing what she called the dependency protocol. The idea was simple but brilliant. Make alien civilizations so dependent on human technology that they could not survive without it. Every human engineer, scientist, doctor, and teacher who worked on alien worlds had been part of the plan. They did not know it, but their work was carefully coordinated to create a web of dependencies that could not be easily broken. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Hae-Jin, "we are receiving desperate signals from the Andromedan government. They are offering a full alliance and recognition of human territorial claims in exchange for restoration of basic services." Sung Ho smiled coldly. "Send the standard response. The Human Federation is not available for outside communications. The Andromedans had been humanity's closest allies before the crisis. If they were begging for help, then the other alien races must be in complete panic." On the trade station Nexus Prime, Station Master Kexaloth watched the last alien cargo ship leave his docks. The massive station, which once handled thousands of ships every day, was now almost empty. Without human trade routes and human fuel stations, interstellar commerce had collapsed to almost nothing. Kexaloth's 4 arms moved nervously as he tried to calculate how long his station could survive. They had food for maybe 2 months, power for 3 months. After that, the station would become a tomb floating in space. "Sir," said his assistant, a young Vrathan named Polrex, "the station council is demanding another emergency meeting. They want to know when the humans will return." Kexaloth made the Vrathan sound for bitter laughter. "When will they return? They will return when we stop treating them like dangerous children and start treating them like the galactic power they have become." But even as he said it, Kexaloth wondered if it was too late. The damage to galactic civilization was growing worse every day. Soon there might be nothing left for humans to return to. On Earth, in a secret military facility deep underground, Dr. Hana reviewed the psychological profiles of alien leaders. As the former science liaison to the Galaxy Council, she knew these beings personally. She had shared meals with them, attended their cultural ceremonies, even considered some of them friends. Now she was helping to destroy their worlds. "Analysis of Counselor Vexitar?" asked President Minho. Dr. Hana pulled up the Zalathi leader's profile on her screen. Classic authoritarian personality. High intelligence, but driven by fear of losing control. He will fight to the end rather than admit he made a mistake. And the others? Most are ready to negotiate. The Andromedans sent 17 different peace proposals yesterday. The Fenari are begging us to return their farming specialists. Even the proud hegemony is starting to crack. President Minho studied the reports. But as long as Vextar holds the anti-human coalition together, the Galaxy Council cannot officially change their position. Dr. Hana nodded. "Which is why we need to remove him from the equation." She activated another screen, showing a detailed plan. Operation Silent Thunder. We demonstrate to the galaxy that human patience has limits. The demonstration came without warning. The Zalathi research station Bright Knowledge was studying quantum physics in orbit around their homeworld. It was one of the most advanced scientific facilities in the galaxy, home to 300 of their best researchers. They had been trying to reverse engineer human technology for weeks. Captain Do Hyun watched the station through his ship's sensors. His stealth vessel Shadow Walker was invisible to Zalathi scanners, floating just a few kilometers away from the research station. "Target locked," reported his weapons officer, a calm woman named Min Ji. "Any evacuation attempts?" Do Hyun asked. "Negative. They do not know we are here." Do Hyun felt a moment of sadness. Many of the scientists on that station were good people who had worked with humans in the past, but they had chosen to serve a government that wanted to control and limit humanity. Sometimes innocent people paid the price for their leaders' mistakes. "Fire," he ordered. The human plasma torpedo was invisible until it struck. The research station simply vanished in a flash of white light. No explosion, no debris. One moment it was there, the next moment there was only empty space. The message reached the Zalathi government within minutes. Along with the news of the station's destruction came a single communication from an unknown source. "Stop trying to steal our technology." On the Galaxy Council's emergency channel, which was one of the few communication systems still working, panic spread like wildfire. Alien leaders who had thought humans were peaceful and defensive suddenly realized they were dealing with a military power that could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. Counselor Vextar's skin turned completely black when he heard the news. 300 of his best scientists, including his own nephew, had been on that station. "This is an act of war," he screamed to the other council members. "We must respond with force." But old Mordak of the Andromedans asked the question that everyone was thinking: respond with what? Our fleets cannot find their ships. Our weapons cannot penetrate their defenses. Our technology does not work without their support. The Galactic Defense Force had been trying to mobilize against the human threat for weeks, but every time they tried to launch their warships, critical systems failed. Targeting computers that relied on human quantum processors went dark. SHIELD, generators with human power cores, shut down. Even the navigation system stopped working without human-maintained relay satellites. Fleet Admiral Kexthon of the Hegemony Navy had been forced to admit a terrible truth to the Galaxy Council. Our entire military is dependent on human technology. Without their cooperation, we cannot even leave our home systems, much less fight a war. The news hit the Galaxy Council like a physical blow. For centuries, they had prided themselves on their mighty fleets and powerful weapons. Now they discovered that their military was as helpless as their civilian infrastructure. President Min Ho addressed the Terran Parliament in a speech that was broadcast across human space, but blocked from alien receivers. "For too long, we have been treated as junior partners in a galaxy we helped to build. We shared our knowledge freely, solved their problems willingly, and asked only for friendship and respect in return." His voice grew harder. "Instead, they tried to put chains on us. They voted to limit our growth, control our expansion, and treat us like children who needed adult supervision. Today, they learned that we were never the children in this relationship." The Parliament chamber erupted in cheers. Representatives from hundreds of human worlds showed their approval. They had suffered years of condescending treatment from alien governments who thought humans were too young and too dangerous to be trusted with real power. The destruction of the Zalathi research station was regrettable but necessary, President Min Ho continued. "It sends a clear message. We will not tolerate attempts to steal our technology or threaten our people. Any government that tries to replace us through force or theft will face the consequences." In the Galaxy Council halls, the mood was very different. Representatives who had been confident and proud just months before now looked like frightened animals. The comfortable world they had known for thousands of years was crumbling around them. Counselor Yaren Dak of the Fenari stood up with tears in her large eyes. "My world is dying," she said simply. "Half our population has already starved. The other half will be dead within weeks. We voted against the Protection Act. We tried to warn you this would happen. But our children pay the price for your arrogance." Other representatives began to speak up. The Corvani announced that their government had collapsed completely. The Rigelians reported that 3 of their colony worlds had declared independence, and were trying to contact humans directly. The Korthax admitted that their medical system had failed and plague was spreading across their worlds. "This has to stop," said Mordak quietly. "We made a mistake. A terrible, foolish mistake. Now we must fix it before there is nothing left to save." But Vextar refused to give up. "Never!" he shouted. "We will not bow to these upstart primitives. The Zalathi have survived for 10,000 years without human help. We will survive this too." "The Zalathi, maybe," Mordak replied sadly. "But what about the rest of us? What about the billions of innocent beings who are suffering because of our pride?" The old Andromedan stood up slowly, his ancient body trembling. With effort, "I call for a vote of no confidence in the current council leadership. We need new leaders who can fix this disaster before it destroys us all." The hall erupted in chaos. Some representatives supported Mordak's call for new leadership. Ambassador Kyung-min walked through the great doors of the Galaxy Council Hall for the first time in 3 months. But this time, he was not alone. Admiral Sung Ho walked on his right side, his military uniform crisp and intimidating. Dr. Hana walked on his left, carrying a data pad that contained the future of galactic civilization. Behind them came a squad of human soldiers in advanced combat armor that made them look like walking weapons. Their faces were hidden behind dark visors, but their presence sent a clear message. Humans were no longer asking for permission. The alien representatives fell silent as the human delegation entered. Many had not seen a human in months. Some looked hopeful, thinking this meant their suffering would end. Others looked terrified, wondering what new punishment the humans had come to deliver. Kyung-min stopped in the center of the hall and looked around at the assembled aliens. These were the same beings who had voted to limit human expansion just 3 months ago. Now they looked like broken creatures, their proud civilizations crumbling around them. "Honorable representatives," Kyung-min said, his voice calm but cold. "I bring greetings from the Human Federation and new terms for galactic cooperation." Counselor Vextar tried to stand tall, but his purple skin was pale and his hands shook. "You have no right to dictate terms to this council. We are the legitimate government of the galaxy." Admiral Sung Ho smiled without warmth. "Government of what? Half your member worlds have no functioning infrastructure. A quarter of them have declared independence from your authority. 3 major trade routes have collapsed completely. What exactly do you govern, Counselor?" The truth of those words hit the hall like a physical blow. The Galaxy Council had lost control of most of its territory. Without human technology and human trade networks, their mighty galactic civilization had become a collection of isolated, struggling worlds. Dr. Hana stepped forward and activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas where governments had collapsed. Yellow zones showed worlds experiencing critical shortages. Green zones, indicating stable and functioning systems, were almost all in human space. The Sapient Species Protection Act is hereby declared null and void, Kyung-min announced. Furthermore, the Galaxy Council will be restructured to reflect the actual contributions each species makes to galactic civilization. He gestured to Dr. Hana, who began reading from her datapad. "The Human Federation will take control of all major trade routes, communication networks, and technology transfer agreements. Any attempt to restrict human expansion or development will result in immediate economic and technological isolation." "This is blackmail!" Vextar shouted, but his voice cracked with desperation. "No," said Admiral Sung Ho quietly. "This is reality. For 50 years you benefited from human cooperation. You built your modern civilization on the foundation of human innovation. Now you learn what happens when that foundation is removed. Engineer Tai Min, who had been revealed as Director of Human Strategic Operations, stepped forward with another holographic display. This one showed the true scope of human influence in the galaxy. Every major technological advance in the past 50 years has human involvement, he explained. Your quantum drives use human engineering principles. Your medical technology relies on human bioscanners. Your agricultural systems need human genetic modifications. Your communication networks run on human quantum processors. The display showed connection after connection, revealing how completely the aliens had become dependent on human knowledge and human systems. It was like looking at the circulatory system of a living body. Remove the blood, and everything dies. Old Mordak of the Andromedans stood up slowly. His ancient voice was filled with regret. We were fools. We saw your rapid progress and called it dangerous. We saw your friendship and called it manipulation. We saw your gifts and called them threats. He turned to address the other council members. The humans did not trick us into dependence. We chose it ourselves because their solutions worked better than ours. Their technology was more efficient. Their methods were more effective. Their cooperation made us all richer and stronger. Counselor Yerendak of the Fenari spoke through her tears. My people are starving because we supported a law that punished our greatest friends. How many must die before we admit we were wrong? Around the hall, other representatives began to speak. The Korthax admitted their medical system had collapsed. The Rigelians reported that their space elevators were failing. The Corvani announced their government had been replaced by regional councils that wanted to negotiate with humans directly. But Vextar refused to surrender. We can rebuild. We can create our own technology. We do not need these primitive humans. Dr. Yun Seo's voice came through the communication system from Luna Base. Counselor Vextar, may I remind you of the Zalathi research station that was attempting to reverse engineer our technology? The hall fell silent. Everyone remembered the station that had simply vanished without a trace. Your scientists spent 3 months trying to understand a single quantum drive, Dr. Yunseo continued. They failed completely. Even if they had succeeded, it would have taken decades to rebuild the infrastructure you have lost. And that assumes we allow you to try. Captain Do Hyun appeared on another communication screen. Behind him, the bridge of his stealth ship was visible. My fleet is currently monitoring 17 alien research facilities that are attempting to copy human technology. One word from the Admiral, and they will share the fate of bright knowledge. The threat was clear and terrifying. Humans could strike anywhere, anytime, and there was nothing the aliens could do to stop them. President Minho appeared on the main communication screen, speaking from his office on Earth. The choice is simple. Accept our terms and rebuild galactic civilization as partners, or continue your futile resistance and watch your worlds die in isolation. Counselor Varthek of the Hegemony, who had been silent throughout the meeting, finally spoke. What are your terms? Kyung-min smiled for the first time since entering the hall. Full recognition of human territorial claims. Permanent seats for human representatives on all major galactic councils. Veto power over any legislation that affects human interests. And most importantly, formal acknowledgement that the human Federation is the senior partner in galactic civilization. Senior partner? Vexatar gasped. You want us to accept human dominance over species that have existed for thousands of years? We want you to accept reality, Admiral Sung-ho replied. Humans already control the technology that keeps your civilizations running. We already manage the trade routes that connect your worlds. We already maintain the communication networks that allow you to coordinate your governments. The only difference is that now we want official recognition of what already exists. Doctor. Hana added her own explanation. For 50 years, humans have been the foundation of galactic civilization. We worked behind the scenes, solving problems and preventing conflicts. We asked for nothing but friendship and respect. You repaid our generosity with fear and suspicion. She gestured to the holographic displays showing the collapsed alien governments. This is what the galaxy looks like without human cooperation. Is this what you prefer to partnership? The question hung in the air like a sword. Around the hall, alien representatives looked at each other with desperate eyes. Some were calculating the cost of surrender. Others were wondering if they had any choice at all. Captain Bo-Ram, watching the proceedings from her ship docked at a human station, felt a mix of sadness and satisfaction. She had liked many of the aliens she had traded with over the years. They were not evil people, just frightened and foolish. But they had chosen to see human friendship as a threat, rather than a gift. Now they were learning the difference between cooperation and domination. With cooperation, everyone benefited and no one was forced to participate. With domination, one side dictated terms and the other side obeyed or suffered. The humans had tried cooperation for 50 years. When that was rejected, they had chosen domination instead. Old Mordak stood up again, his ancient body trembling with the weight of his decision. The Andromedan Confederation accepts the human terms. We formally recognize the Human Federation as the senior partner in galactic civilization. One by one, other representatives began to stand and declare their acceptance. The Fenari, the Korthoks, the Rigelians, the Corvani remnants. Even the proud hegemony finally admitted defeat. Only Vextar remained seated, his purple skin now almost black with rage and despair. History will remember this day as the end of galactic freedom, he said bitterly. History will remember this day as the end of galactic stupidity, Kyung-min replied. You had a choice between partnership and isolation. You chose isolation. Now you have a choice between cooperation and destruction. Choose wisely. The vote was called. 56 species voted to accept the human terms. Only the Zelathi, led by the stubborn Vextar, voted to reject them. Very well, said Admiral Sung-ho. The Zelathi worlds will remain in isolation until they change their minds. All other species may begin negotiations for the restoration of human services. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Kyung-min turned back to address the hall one final time. Let this be a lesson to future generations. Humans offered friendship.